Alright, what's up guys? Hawkeye here. And before we begin this video, I just want to say you should go check out my friend Thunder Talks, because he's actually the one who inspired me to make this video. It's kind of a response to his We Shouldn't Worry About the Switch 2 video, which I will link in the description. No, this isn't really a response, because I'm not really going to be addressing like the points he made in that video. Um, but like, I was inspired to make this video because of that video, because we have opposing opinions of the state of like Nintendo right now. So make sure you go check him out. Give him some love and all that. So, anyways, so yeah, this is my list of reasons why I personally believe that the Switch 2 is doomed. Yeah. Now the first reason is anti-consumerism policies. And I know the first thing people are going to say is, oh, well, what about Activision, Ubisoft, EA, Epic Games? Well, first off, that is whataboutism, which is a bad faith argument because it negates what point the original person is saying. Um, um, Only via giving all other examples of said thing happening and not giving any other nuance as to why it's happening. Um, so in most instances, that is a bad faith argument. Um, and second off, look at how good all four of those companies are doing right now. Um, if you haven't noticed, all four of them are doing very poorly right now, and that's with Activision, EA, and Epic Games having at least one franchise that could just upload like a Blender cube for $80, and millions of people would still buy it. So anyway, second major point of this is Nintendo's the only company that is selling games for $114 Canadian. Like if you go on Steam right now, I don't think you could find another game that is as expensive as Nintendo is charging. And for you guys who are American or use American price points, that is around 80 USD. And I'm going to be using Canadian price points because I'm Canadian. So yeah, transfer that into USD at your own discretion. Yeah, like if you go into Steam right now, like you'll find games for 90 CAD, but you're never gonna find a game for 100 CAD, just the standard edition, no, nothing added, just base game 100 CAD. That's just something you're never gonna find on Steam. Um, and that's because Nintendo's the only company doing it. Third off, is they are the only company selling old games for exorbitant prices. And the only other exception to this is I would say Activision of their old COD games, because like Black Ops 2 still 80 bucks on Steam. But other than that, Nintendo's the only one doing this. And just so you know how bad it is, they're charging $30 for a fucking Game Boy Advanced game. Game Boy Advanced. They're selling $30. Like that's just completely ridiculous and unheard of on Steam. Like if it was a Steam game or by any other company in the world, it would be maybe $10 at most, and even then, some people would probably think twice about getting it. Like you should genuinely feel like I think you should genuinely feel insulted um that Nintendo thought that you were stupid enough and poor enough with money um as to where you would think that $30 for a Game Boy Advance game is a good purchase. Yeah, and I think the worst example, in my opinion, is $55 for Super Mario Galaxy 2. That is damn near like that is ridiculous for a game that was 15 years old when it came out. Now I'll bring up more later because it's more related to other talking points I have. But I want to mention is Galaxy One released in Mario 3D All Stars, and if you take the combined and you divide the price of that game by three because of the three Mario games you get in that, Mario Galaxy's share of that was significantly less than $55. Um, and on top of that, the whole collection even though it had 3 games versus 2 games, was a good $20 less than Mario Galaxy plus Mario Galaxy 2. The fourth thing to do is they delay content from games and sell them as expansions. And no, they're not the only company that does this, but this is one of the scummiest things companies do. But yeah, like what they do with DK Bonanza, for example, is they like took this content that was fully developed and they just waited like 3 months after the game came out to reveal these DLC, so you could pay an extra $30 for a game that's already $20 more expensive than it should be. Um, Being generous is $20 more expensive than it should be. Um, and finally, it completely goes against what Nintendo was doing in the Wii and Wii U era. Remember when it mentioned Galaxy 2 was $55? Well, in the Wii era, at least of Galaxy 1, they had Nintendo Selects and and they were selling I don't know how much it was in Canadian money, but the American money it was $20 and you can get Super Mario Galaxy 1. So that means that to get Galaxy on Switch, to get Galaxy on Switch almost 20 years after it was released, it is more expensive than if you went and go bought it in the Wii era. So let's just when the game was brand new and they were still printing it. So, yeah. All right. The second point is the Nintendo Switch has no online features at all. Now, just so you know how bad it is, if you look at the original Xbox from like 2000, mind you, the original Xbox came out before I was born. It's a very old console at this point. Um, like it's a so it, the Nintendo Switch is actually behind where the original Xbox. The Switch just got voice chat, and it's a pretty primitive form of voice chat. I do, if I must say so. It has no way to chat between friends. The friends list in general is extremely primitive. There's no gifting people anything on the eShop. There's no refunding people anything on the eShop. And most embarrassingly, in my opinion, is the Switch has no achievements. Which, for a console in 2025, to not have achievements, like that's just genuinely embarrassing. To be honest, I think it was already embarrassing that the Wii U didn't have achievements. So for it to go 2 consoles after that and still not have achievements, like, oh my god, like, they should be ashamed of themselves. It's something I genuinely can't believe I've like never seen someone complain about online, like, because it's genuinely shameful that like Nintendo is that far behind literally everyone else. That fucking App Store has achievements, like they're behind where the App Store is. Um, All right. Second off is the value for Nintendo Switch Online is super poor. Now the first subscription tier, that's not terrible. You get a lot of games for about $20 a year, so like that's not terrible. But anything other than that is just completely ridiculous. Get an extra like maybe 30 games for like an added $40 a year, and it's just no other features other than that too. You literally just get games that they locked off of the base model for no reason other than the fact that they wanted money. And third off, and this is the last for this point, is there's a severe lack of popular multiplayer games. Now, I know some people aren't very crazy about them. Some people might even say they hate them, but they are a very large part of the video game industry, and they are a very essential part to any platform that would want to be successful as consequence of that. So the Switch 2 does have Fortnite, Apex Legends, Marvel Rivals, and then Overwatch. And I want to point out the Overwatch port was like super delayed. Like I actually remember it coming out. That's how delayed it was. It was like it came out like 5 years after Overwatch came out. So I don't even know what the point was because the demand for it clearly wasn't that high. Uh, but it does have Overwatch. But what the Switch 2 doesn't have is it doesn't have any Call of Duty game. It doesn't have Battlefield 6. It doesn't have Valorant, and it doesn't have Genshin Impact. And again, these are games that are available on like every other platform, except for the Switch, and they're not on the Switch because Nintendo is like so far behind of where they realistically should be at this point in time, online wise. that it's just like a complete failure in terms of games like that. Third off, and this is going to be the one that pisses people off, is the Switch 2 has a very limited amount of exclusives. I know people are going to say they're going to be like, "Oh, it's not about the other stuff you mentioned. It's about the exclusives. It's about the games Nintendo makes. That's what makes any console good. Is the amount of games the company that produces it makes that you can't get anywhere else." And in a way, that's true. But this is the least amount of exclusives that Nintendo has ever made, in their history, and I have receipts to back that up later on. But but the reason for that is they're simply not making exclusives anymore. Instead, they're putting their resources into making these half-ass DLCs to Switch One games, for no other purpose other than making you pay for games that you've already paid for, and forcing people that are on the Switch One that don't want to upgrade because of the other two reasons I mentioned so far, and the reasons I have coming up, um, just to force them to upgrade. Like if you look at whatever the meetup in Bellevue Park and Starcross World, there's really no reason why any of those, either of those, could not be on Switch One. But they're not on Switch One because they want to force people to pay money for a game they already paid for, and get a new console, that they realistically do not need to play the new content. Um, and some hey, and hell, some games are not even adding that much. Like Breath of the Wild is $20 extra on Switch 2 for no fucking reason. Like if you get a Switch 1 port of Breath of the Wild, you will save $20 on it, and you will lose nothing that someone who got the Switch 2 version got. Actually ridiculous how it's actually ridiculous how stupid Nintendo thinks you are. Pictured on your screen now is a little graph I made going over every single exclusive that came out in the first year of um of each Nintendo console's life, starting with the Wii. Um, and I actually left stuff out of the Wii one, by the way, so it's not even every single one. Um, but yeah, sure, as you can see, the Wii had 11 games released for that exclusive. Um, the Wii U had 8 games. By the way, asterisk means that the games were not developed by Nintendo, but they are still exclusive. So I thought I'd count them anyway because like they are exclusive. So, but anyway, and Switch One also had 8 games. Um, in the first year. Well, in the same time frame, the Switch Two has only had 6 games. Uh, so yeah, this is the least amount of exclusive games Nintendo has ever given us. And mind you, I want to mention the Switch Two is worse than the Wii U. And one of the main complaints people had with the Wii U is there wasn't enough exclusives for the Wii U. And the Switch is actually so far doing worse than the Wii U is doing in this department. And you can't even argue the quality is better because like in all of these we have some of the most well received games for the console. Fourth point, which is pretty fitting compared to the last point, is third party support so far seems to be extremely limited. Um, like every single third party game I've seen come to Switch, with a few exceptions I'll get into later, are mostly either indie games, which a lot of those are also on Switch One, or a port of a 5-year-old game. The only new major games that I've seen that got Switch 2 ports were, and by new I mean like less than like 4 or 5 years old. Um, so we had Pragmata, Street Fighter 6, the upcoming port of Stellar Blade, and the upcoming 007 for First Light. And mind you, Street Fighter 6 and Stellar Blade still aren't new games. Like we've had Stellar Blade on PC for like a year now, and Street Fighter 6 came out in 2023, so they're not like brand new games. They're just not like very old games like Cyberpunk or whatever, you know? So that's already not great. And another big point why I think it's actually going to get a lot worse, no, not better, is because they waited way too long to release the Switch 2. We all thought the Switch 2 would come out like 3 or 4 years ago. Most people were genuinely thinking that Kirby and the Forgotten Land would be the last major Switch game. And that came out in 2022. So yeah, they waited a really long time to That means the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X came out 5 years before the Switch 2 did, which means that we are probably very close to getting the PS6. Um, which means um, that with the Switch 2 only being as weak as strong as the Series S, which a lot of developers have already complained about, it's not looking good for the Switch because when the PS6 comes out, it's going to be way more powerful than the Switch, and like these developers are just going to be the like are just going to completely ignore the Switch 2 as consequence. So the only ports the Switch 2 will continue to get are going to be of older games for the most part. And I want to also bring up this is like the exact same issue the Wii U had. This was like probably honestly the main issue of the Wii U. All right, finally, we have complete hostility to everyone who is not a cocksucking fan. And yes, that is what I wrote down in my script. Because what I mean by this is, if you're not willing to suck Miyamoto's dick, unprompted, Nintendo does not care about you. Like they've probably taken down more fan projects than every other company in the gaming industry combined, times four. Like it's actually completely unprecedented how often they take down fan projects. It's like genuinely ridiculous. It's like and 99% of them are not profiting in any way. Like they don't even have like a Patreon, not charging money here to game. But of course, Nintendo does not care about this, and they're also completely unwilling to collab with any other studio. Um, you know, like if you don't primarily use a Nintendo console, not even if you don't use a Nintendo console. If you have a Nintendo console on like a PC or like a PS5, Nintendo does not give a fuck about you. They only care about people that like only have a Switch. They do not give a fuck about anyone else, and they're just completely unwilling to collab with any other studio, on any other platform, which really comes up with like as hostile. Like that's a really bad way to get new customers because like that really paints the image that they're hostile to other groups of gamers, which I honestly do think they are. And third off is Nintendo never listens to any criticism. And when I say never, I mean I genuinely don't think they have ever listened to any criticism on any of their games. They never listen to criticism. Like they're not the only company that does this, but they are definitely the most prevalent company that does this. They like even with a successful game like Forgotten Land, um, like it has a lot of the issues Star Allies had. You know, a game that came out. I want to mention Star Allies came out 5 years before Forgotten Land. There's a lot of people hating on it, so it was very easy to find out what the issues were. And Forgotten Land did not. And Forgotten Land still has some of the issues Star Allies had. And I'll honestly argue, in some of the issues Star Allies had are actually more prevalent in Forgotten Land. Like I thought the difficulty was actually worse in Forgotten Land. Like I thought Forgotten Land was actually easier than Star Allies, and pretty much every single person, even people who liked Star Allies, which is the minority, um, said that the game was too easy. So, and Forgotten Land doubled down on that. So, yeah. Anyways, that's gonna be this video, guys. This is actually my second time uploading it because the first time I did, my microphone was off. I'm actually kind of glad I'm re-uploading this though because like I came off, it was too angry and too the video was too long because I repeated myself too often. So I'm actually kind of glad that that worked out that way. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.